Hey everybody, Brad again, and it's good to see you. Um, First of all, I just want to recognize, I realized as I was sitting down that I'm dressing awfully fancy for working from home. And I don't know if this is helpful or you're wired this way, but when I'm feeling just like tired or not really wanting to do much, especially because I'm kind of used to working from home even before all this started, I would just dress kind of like fancy or whatever, even if I'm not even leaving the house, as a way of just kind of staying encouraged and motivated. So maybe that's an Enneagram 3 wing 4 thing. I don't know. But there it is. So, in case you were wondering why I'm wearing a blazer, it's just for the hell of it. So, anyway, stay on your toes. You never know what you're going to see on these videos. Anyway, uh, today I just kind of want to do a little bit of reflecting and letting you know what's going on with the why behind why we did worship on Sunday the way we did, and how we're why we're going to be doing that in the future, or some form of it, and adapting and changing as we go. Um, and so I took some time to put out, or to think through, like, what are the principles, like what are the things that are really important to us as we do this. And so I came up with nine. But don't worry, they're short. This is not a 9 point sermon. These are 9 bullet points. But I just wanted to help you know. Yeah, I don't know. It's important to know why we're doing things the way that we are, especially as you are probably noticing friends who are posting live streams of their church's worship stuff, and like everybody's kind of doing it a little differently, and all that fun stuff. So here are the principles for how we're thinking through this and trying to be super intentional toward loving and serving the church. So, principle number one. And these are all assumptions, right? These are all things that are just like, if you pop the hood, this is what's making the engine run. Uh, Principle number one is there is no substitute for embodied gathering. Um, Hebrews says that many will neglect the gathering of the people of God, and that is um, definitely true in an era when a lot of people find God in the mountains. And uh, we would be hypocrites if we said, like, hey, this is just as good as, or the same thing as we've always done. And it's just never been true, and it's definitely not true now. There's no substitute for it. So there, as I probably don't even have to convince you of that now. Like, maybe I might have needed to convince you of that before, but now I think all of us are feeling that, right? So what that means is we're not trying to replace or replicate what we normally do. We're not going to copy paste and do the same thing that we normally do on Sundays in this era of live stream. We're not going to try and replicate that. Even if we had all of the equipment we needed and a building to do so in, we just think that philosophically that's just not us. And I know there are a lot of churches out there that are just, clicking record and live streaming maybe they've already been live streaming their whole worship service, or they have a building, so they're even if they're trying to think a little bit differently or creatively. We wouldn't do that anyway, and that's not a knock against them. It's just that um, there's actually something to uh, even embedded in our worship, and awareness that this is merely a substitute, but a bad one, that we are hoping for and looking forward to when we can gather again in a full body. So that's number one. Number two is, that said, we must gather however we can. Uh, this is not the first time that God's people have had to figure out creatively, because of historical level crises, how to gather in creative ways and how to be connected. We have infinitely more resources and ways of doing that with technology now that we've never had before. But twice in Israel's history, God's people were carried away into exile. They were unable to go to the temple in Jerusalem where God's very presence was. And they felt so unbelievably connected, not just from each other, but from God. And even more so than technology, what we have now is the very presence of Jesus. That if you have been coming to the table during the fall and winter when we were going through the book of Acts, you know that the church, God's people, went from this kind of like attractional, everyone kind of moving toward Jerusalem, toward Israel from the outside, to this explosion of the kingdom to go anywhere and everywhere to the ends of the earth. That was the title for our sermon series. That is possible because of the Holy Spirit. That is possible because we have the very presence of Jesus, even as we are geographically separated. So when you combine that one with the first principle in particular, it means that there's no substitute for an embodied gathering, but we must gather however we can. It means that we're going to do this in a way that is tailored for this moment. We're not going to try, we're going to actually think critically and try to do this in such a way that's thoughtful and helpful for you. And that means it's going to be something less than what we normally do at Centaurus High School, but definitely more than Brad on a couch giving you his hot take on the gospel and culture. That's good, I hope, but that's not very worshipful. It's maybe reflective and helpful. The third principle here is the good old saying that necessity is the mother of invention. Right? There's a history of incredible creativity from God's people in history, and we have an opportunity right now to take a hard look at our rhythms and our practices and adapt them to this moment. I know that sounds a little bit redundant from number 2, but the point that I'm trying to make here is it's important for us to not have a scarcity mentality, but it's also important to have a kingdom mindset. That this is opportunity for us to look at our rhythms and just life, as I'm sure you are in your day-to-day, in your household, and thinking through, wow, my schedule is suddenly both, like it's at the same time, your schedule is more clear than it ever has been, but your bandwidth is smaller than it ever has been, right? So in the same way that you are doing that on an individual or on a household basis, we're trying to do that as a church across the board, but especially with our worship. Principle number 4 is Jesus' own words that he says, Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So what we do on Sundays is not going to be just for the sake of creativity or because of necessity. It's going to be purpose toward sustaining our community in our hope and hospitality, helping us to love God and our neighbor, just the same principle that has informed our Sunday mornings before this moment, but it's just maybe feels even more critical and will be an even more intentional filter for us. Principle number 5 is that, and you probably noticed that I caught myself a couple times using language of wherever you are watching this worship service, as opposed to participating. Anything and everything that we can do toward that end, toward inviting you to participate in worship and not just to watch as Danny and I worship, we're going to do that as much as possible. And we have some creative ideas, so stay tuned with that. But by the way, that is why, if at all possible, we are not going to pre-record these videos. We're going to live stream them because it's important that we are all worshiping in spirit and truth together. And yes, we can do that if we do it in response to a video, but it's the difference between responding to an artifact that is a video that's been pre-recorded and responding live to a person to whom a video is merely the vehicle for that relationship. And I know that sounds like a small thing. And again, there are a lot of pastors across the country who are pre-recording it, and I have no judgment toward that at all, because they're doing a phenomenal job. And frankly, I'm encouraged that they're using this opportunity to rest and to do this as well. But as much as possible, we're gonna do that, participate and not watch worship. Number 6, again, there are 9, so we're most of the way through here. Number 6 is that there is such beauty and creativity. We're going to have some fun with this. We're going to play. We're going to use some opportunities to use this as an opportunity to think creatively about design and I've got some ideas, and I'm not going to ruin any surprises, but I'm pretty excited for how this is an opportunity for cultivating beauty, which is 1/3 of our mission statement, right? Know God, love people, and cultivate beauty. And so how can we cultivate beauty in a way where we have kind of an unprecedented blank canvas with this? And that is in itself an opportunity to love people, because our neighbors are going to be able to see that we are not just having this scarcity mentality, but a kingdom mindset that says we can celebrate still, that we can have joy and celebrate in the midst of suffering, right? I love how impromptu our passing of the peace was on Sunday. And I would encourage you, I know that for those of you who are on a Slack channel, which we've had for only volunteers, and we're thinking that might change. Stay tuned on that. But I know a lot of you posted those pictures in the Slack channel, but I encourage you, do so on your Facebook page. Do it on Twitter and tag the table and Instagram too. Whatever the social medium is. But I want to encourage you, use the same hashtag that we talked about on Sunday. The table church scattered. But I want you to add this one because I think it's going to be fun. Hashtag pass the peace, or pass peace, not germs. Hashtag pass peace, not germs. And I think we're going to work this in actually as a legitimate actual passing the peace. And I have some other creative ideas around this too. But for us to be connected visually, even as we struggle to stay connected concretely or physically in the midst of this. And so it'll be fun to see all those pictures on social media. And I, by the way, just as a side note, thank you so much for the texts and emails and encouragements that you've sent me. I started like fighting back tears after I sat down during the Q&A, and Danny started that last song in our service, and I just fought back tears just seeing how beautiful that was. So yeah, let's keep that going, and let's put it out there as well. Number 7, we're gonna have extra consideration for our neighbors who may be participating and or peeking over the fence as we do this. I had a neighbor actually tell me yesterday she thought that talking about our neighbors who are joining us from maybe you've never been to the table, she thought we were talking specifically about her. And in this moment, I am talking about you, but don't worry, you're not the only one. There's just a lot of people. I think there were 218 views. That means 218 households, not 218 people who, to some degree, watched the live stream on Sunday, and that's incredible. And so we want to be especially insensitive to that. So if you are listening to even this because you're on our newsletter and you have questions, or you're like, I want to know why the church is responding in this way, or why is the church not responding in this way, or how do we, if there's anything that is helpful for you, as we do this live stream worship service, please let me know. Email me, brad@tablechurch.com. If you know me, reach out to me on whatever medium makes sense. And we want this feedback, because we want to love you as well as we can. And this has never meant to be, the church is never supposed to be a club where only insiders have any understanding of what's going on. It's actually, if anything, it's a club specifically for outsiders. That's what makes it grace. That's what Jesus is all about. So we want to demonstrate that. Number 8, getting there. Promise. This is really important though. Number 8 is this principle that we are actually going to double down on cohorts. I know that doesn't sound like a worship service on Sunday, but all of this is connected. And the more that we can pull our worship service into your living room or wherever you're participating in this from, and that includes into cohorts or what have you, the better. Because the more relational we can make our Sunday mornings when we can't gather in an embodied way, the better. So there's going to be, again, we're going to roll this out a little bit as we go and experiment. So again, stay tuned. But, if you're not in a cohort, I just want to put this invitation out to you. Don't let Sunday morning be the only connection that you have to people at the table. If you want to be in a cohort, let me know. Respond to this email. Hit me up at brad@tablechurch.com. And if there's a way that we can start a new cohort or include you in an existing one, we will do whatever it takes. We don't want you to feel isolated or lonely in the midst of this. And that includes on our Sunday morning and outside of our Sunday morning. Last principle, and this is kind of just a broader thing for us. I think this is important to keep in mind in the midst of all of this, and that is, I just want to let you know, I'm assuming this may be a while. All of the research and data indicates that even if the kind of we are successful in flattening the curve, actually, as a result of flattening the curve and lightening the load on our medical system, it's very possible we may be looking at restrictions on the size of our gatherings for months, not weeks, and potentially over a year. I don't know if that's going to happen, and that may vary by region. I just don't know. But I want you to know that we're basing our assumption and how we do this on the principle that we're going to prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and pray that all of that preparation is a complete waste of time, right? But if it's not, then we're going to be well prepared for it. And I think that's just, I hope, and I think that's just wisdom. But if that is the case, then we're going to continue to be creative. I'm going to need all of your feedback on what is and isn't helpful and how we can best care for you. Okay, so that was awkward because the video glitched and I had about another minute and a half of things I was trying to explain there. But it'll suffice to say this. It's possible, and I think it's probably pretty likely that there will be some restrictions on the size of our gatherings for an extended period of time. I don't know how much, but just want to let you know, like, we're going to get creative in this. And as soon as we are able to gather, even in smaller groups, like if we're at some point in the next couple months or so able to gather as cohorts to worship together and our families, we will do that as well. So whatever it takes, we're going to get creative. We're going to be flexible. The Latin phrase I included in our newsletter just a week ago. Semper Gumby, stay flexible, always flexible. So anyway, that's all I got for now. What a fun note to end on. But thank you for your encouragements. Please stay connected with one another, and please let me know whatever is helpful. Oh, last thing, do not forget, we have a Zoom happy hour for the church this tonight when you're watching this video, Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. The link is in the newsletter that sent out this video, and if you need a link and for some reason you did not get that and you want to participate, just again, email me, brad@tablechurch.com, and I will get you that as soon as possible. Love you guys. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.